Before we start this video, a large thank you to Roku, Chloe, Patrick, Antoine, and Chris for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Alright guys, hey, what's up? So we're going to start this video by opening up our character stats, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a way for our armor to actually negate some of the damage through absorption, and we're going to do it through a percentage style basis. So let's start off by making a header, and again this is on the character stats, which is the base class for the player stats and enemy stats. On this header I'm going to call it armor absorptions, and then I'm just going to do the physical ones for now because they're the same as the fire, the lightning, the dark, and the magic. So you can do those off video, but it will work identically the same, and I'll explain a bit further down the road. So I'm going to make a float. I'm going to call it physical damage head absorption, or absorption head. I'm going to now make one for the body, the legs, and the hands. And these will be the percentages that will be assigned from your equipment when you equip them. And the damage will be basically the sum total of the regular damage minus the total percentage of the damage absorption you have in your equipment. So for example, if your body is 12% physical damage absorption and your head is 5, you have a total of 17% of the total damage physically negated. I'm going to do the formula as I did it in my solo project, which I believe is identical to how Dark Souls handles it. So basically, if you punch in a value of 17 on your armor's physical damage absorption, you will negate 17% of the total damage with that piece equipped. But it also is a sum total of every piece of armor equipped. You'll see what I mean in the very near future. So we're going to start by saying if is dead, we're going to return. And then you see on the equipment item here, we have our physical defense. That is the value I was talking about that we're going to use to actually assign the absorptions. So we're going to edit the take damage function on the player enemy stats. We're basically going to make both of these functions just call the base function, and then they're going to add their own logic to it. So let's go to the knight set. I'm just going to punch in some random values here. I'm going to say 12.5 on the body. I'm going to say about 10 on the legs. And then I'm going to put, we'll say 6.5 on the gauntlets. And on the helmet, I'll throw 7. And again, those are percentages of total damage absorbed physically. And you get the sum total by adding them all together. All right, so let's go back to the character stats. And then we're going to say float. I'm going to say total physical damage absorption. I'm going to say equals 1 minus, and then we're going to say 1 minus, and then we're going to say physical damage absorption head divided by 100. But then we're going to multiply that, and we're just going to put we're going to actually space this out a little bit. Actually, I'll just do this first. We're going to multiply that, and we're going to open up some brackets, and we're going to say 1 minus physical damage absorption body divided by 100. Then we're going to times that by 1 minus physical damage absorption legs divided by 100. Let's just add some spaces here so this looks a little bit neater and more readable. And then lastly, we're going to multiply this by, again, open the brackets, and we're going to say 1 minus physical damage absorption hands. Now, if you're doing your fire damage absorption, your lightning, your dark, and your magic, it is the exact same formula as this. You just have to add individual values for the fire, the magic, the dark, and the lightning, etc. I'm just going to print a debug log here. I'm going to say debug log total physical damage absorption. And I'm just going to actually add a comment here right before this. So I'm just going to say total damage absorption is, and I'm just going to say plus, and I'm going to add another comment here, and we're going to make a percentage sign. So this will print it in the console so we know we've done it right if it all prints out okay when we check it at the end of the video. Okay, let's save that. Now, let's do a few more things. Let me check my notes here real quick. Okay, now right below this, let's say float final damage is equal to, now in this case it would just be the total physical damage. And I'm going to change the int damage up here. Let's put down physical damage. And I'm just going to actually change the name of the variable damage up here to physical damage. Because in my solo project, and I'm sure if you guys have more than one damage type, you can actually pass a bunch of damage types. So let's just change this to physical damage. You can, for example, have fire damage and your lightning damage and your dark damage and your magic damage. So I'm going to say physical damage is equal to physical damage. And then we're going to say minus physical damage times total physical damage absorption. And we're actually going to have to round that to an int because I believe it only wants to accept an int. So that's very easy. All we have to, round to an int. All we have to do is just say math f dot round to int and just put these in the brackets here and you're good to go. Optionally too, you could just have your health. You could just use a float for everything. I like rounding things to an int sometimes, just my preference. Otherwise, fine. Then we're going to say float final damage is equal to physical damage. And then if you wanted to, you'd have plus your fire damage and then plus your magic damage. And then you'd add them all up and detract that from your total health. And that's how you would do it. But I'm only going to do physical damage in this video because the principle is exactly the same. And I don't want to repeat the same context of code with different names because that would be a waste of time for you guys. I'm sure any of you who've been at the start of the series are perfectly capable of doing that on your own and have the utmost faith in you. Okay, so I'm just going to throw a debug here as well. We're going to say debug.log. And I just want to track this and make sure it's all coming out okay. So we're tracking our absorption above, and after that we're going to track our total damage dealt because we want to see the percentage of the damage we're absorbing, and we want to see the total damage dealt. So we're going to say plus final damage. Then we're going to say if current health is less than or equal to 0, we're going to say current health equals 0, and then we're going to say is dead is equal to true. All right, so we're actually calling this logic already on the take damage function. So let's go find that in the player and enemy stats. Actually, no, I'm just going to open up their scripts because it's okay to repeat that logic, but I'd rather not. So I actually just want to call the base class function, and we're going to have to do a couple things because the enemy has their health bar, so we have to edit that on the enemy stats script alone. So we'll just call the base class and then do whatever else we need to do. And on the player stats, we actually edit our UI health bar, so we'll have to do that as well. But for all the damage calculation itself, I just want to do that on the actual base class. I'm just going to put base.takedamage, and we're going to do that on both the enemy stats and the player stats scripts. And we can kind of erase this logic here. We can erase current health equals current health minus damage because we're going to calculate that on the character stats. We can keep enemy health bar.setHealth and the enemy animator manager.play target animation because the character stats does not have an enemy animator manager or a player animator manager. So now that we've done that, let's actually go to the player stat script and do the same thing. Let's minimize this here, get all this out of the way so we can see what we're doing. Okay, intake damage, here we go. We can keep the isn't vulnerable there because if we are invulnerable, we're not going to go ahead and call the base class. But we are going to say base.takedamage. We can erase the if is dead return because that's already included in the base function. Whoops, let's paste that there. We can erase the current health equals current health minus damage because we're going to place that on the base function. Health bar.set current health needs to stay. Again, the animator handler can stay. So can this stay? I don't think we call an animator handler variable on our character stats. Let me see. Let's just erase that and we'll copy it first and let's just go check. No, we don't. I think this is going to be an error. So you could call an animator handler variable here. So you can just put that there and erase it on both the character and the player stats. But for now, I'm going to leave that because I'm going to come back and redo this part of this function in the future when I actually make a full death function for restarting the level and stuff. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's just keep that there for now. Okay, so that should be good. Now we actually need to assign the armor's absorption values to the stats script. And what I mean by that is if you have a helmet equipped, you actually need to assign that to your enemy or player stats. You need to assign the absorption value. So we're going to say player stats. This is on the player equipment manager. And we're going to come down here and call this on the awake. And in the future, we're going to have to make an equipment manager script, like a base class for the player equipment manager and the enemy equipment manager. So then we can just do this all through that because I don't think we have an equipment manager script right now for our enemy. But we can do that in the future. Or you can go ahead and do that now if you want, because again, it's just identical to the player equipment manager, except it's a base class that we'll use for our enemy and our player. So anyway, under equip all equipment models on start, we can say player stats, and this is under the current helmet equipment, dot physical damage absorption head is equal to player inventory dot current head equipment dot physical defense, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And then if we go to the else statement, we got to reset that to 0 because that means we have nothing equipped. We're going to say player stats dot physical damage absorption head is equal to 0. And then we do the exact same thing for our torso, our legs, and our hands. So down here, if our torso equipment does not equal null, we're going to say player stats dot physical damage absorption body is equal to our player inventory dot current body equipment? Yes, current torso equipment dot physical defense. And then down here on the else, we're going to say player stats dot physical damage absorption body is equal to 0 because we have nothing equipped to our body if we're going to the else statement. And again, our legs, we're going to say player stats dot physical damage absorption legs is equal to player inventory dot current leg equipment dot physical defense. And this is identical if you're doing magic damage absorption, lightning, or fire or dark. You just have to add more lines of code. So you would say player stats dot magic damage absorption legs is equal to player inventory dot current leg equipment dot magic defense. You can do that too. I have like 5 damage types in my solo project. And again, we're going to reset to 0 if we have nothing equipped on the legs. And one final time for the hand slot, player stats dot physical hand absorption, or absorption in your hands, is equal to your player inventory dot current hand equipment dot physical defense. And if there is nothing equipped in the hand slot, we're going to say player stats dot physical damage absorption hands is equal to 0. Very simple and very straightforward. Now, I've gotten the habit of adding a lot of debugs on my stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a few debug.logs here because I want to see the individual damage absorptions on each slot. So here on the torso slot, I don't know why I started here, but yeah, debug.log, body absorption is, and we're going to put a space there. We're going to say plus, and we're going to pass our player stats dot body physical damage absorption in our body plus a percentage. And then we're just going to copy and paste this because I want to see that each slot is registering and loading correctly. So I know that it all works because we're dealing with, 4 separate values here. And if 3 worked and 1 didn't, I might miss that. So we're going to say head absorption is, and we're just going to change that to head. And we're going to do the same thing down here for the legs and the hands. Let's just say leg absorption is, and we'll change that from body to leg. And then we're going to say hand absorption is, and we'll change that from body to hand. Okay, I think we are all good now. So let's just see. I'm going to save that. I believe that's everything. So, all right, just checking over here. We have the values assigned to our armor here. So if you go over to our chest plate, our gauntlets, our helmet, and our plate legs, we're all good. Now, if I start the game, you will see that, okay, cool, yep, we have our values loaded in. We have 6.5% there. 12.5%, 10%, and a 6.5%. So if I get close to the enemy, you will see, boom, the damage is 17. Cool. And our total absorption is 31%. So we're taking, I believe the default damage should be 25. So let's check that real quick by taking off our armor, because I think the default damage of the enemy's damage collider is 25. So let's take off everything, and we should see 25 damage without any armor on, or I'm just going to take off a couple pieces. It should go up to about 21, I believe. Let's lock on to him again. Let's clear that. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So, okay, we got some damage absorption happening. Okay, wait a second. Why is my health not going down? Oh, right. Okay. I think I forgot to actually say current health equals. When we deleted it from the enemy and player stat script, I forgot to actually place it on the character stat script. So, yeah, it's not going down. So, we have the values correct, but we're not subtracting them. All right, so let's go to the character stat script, and all we're going to say is current health is equal to current health minus final damage. And we might have to round that to an int, I believe. Yes, we do. Okay, so we can say current health equals mathf dot round to int, and then we're going to open up the brackets. Inside the brackets is going to say current health minus final damage. And all that's going to do is round the product of that to an integer instead of a float. And now when we go into the game, we should see proper damage absorption, proper damage values, and proper health subtraction. So we should be losing 21 health with every tick of this guy's sword. And there we go. Excellent. All right, guys. So now you have a fully functioning armor absorption system, and your armor actually works. It's not just for show. It has great functionality. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to drop a like. It does genuinely help my series get around. If you're feeling super generous, leave a comment below. And if you're feeling like an absolute champion, check out my Patreon in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video.